to send back to the White House.
And then there's this guy.
Trump!
But likely has a different interest in billionaire.
Hola. And bienvenidos a episode 35. Todos los episodios en español.
I've become that delirious that not everybody's speaking Spanish around me.
No, I could not do this whole episode in Spanish if I wanted. I also don't know how to say episode in Spanish.
Episode.
¿Cómo se dice episode? Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Episode 35. We are so happy to have you join us here in the Commie Bunker. Kanan is back once again in person. Yay! It was nice. It was,
The dogs are infiltrating. The Commie Bunker's getting infiltrated. We'll be back after the short message. Before we get to the video, please like, comment, subscribe, share it to that uncle who's a communist. And if he isn't, he will be.
Don't forget to follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionary rhetoric. And Revolutionary Rhetoric is an affiliate of the Anti-Capitalist Podcast Network.
All right, let's get to the video.
All right, well.
Oh, well, sorry. We almost were assassinated by dogs.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be fine. I have two large dogs, and
yeah,
I don't know how friendly they are.
Whatever, you get bit, you get bit. It happens.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, like I was saying, episode 35. Before we get too far in, if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the like, the comment, the share, and do all the things.
Oh,
if you're listening on audio, you're already subscribed, so cool. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, get fucked.
Oh my god, I can't stop yawning.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I'm making everybody else tired.
Are you just super tired?
First thing when I woke up at like 8 o'clock this morning after work a 16-hour shift yesterday, was starting to fucking edit and like do shit on Photoshop. I had like so many thumbnails I had to go through real quick. Holy moly. You saw that golden fucking masterpiece we put out? Yeah, that shit takes time, guys. That shit takes time.
Shout out to Kanan for just consistently making YouTube gold. The shorts are all Kanan. The YouTube uploads are all Kanan. I make some of the thumbnails. That is my only contribution to the
You make
YouTube
most
side.
of the thumbnails.
I make most of the
It was just the last week because you were literally out of town.
I was out of town last week, and I have a story to tell about that too. I don't want to give too many details away, but I was out of town last week at an event that was 100% attended by communists. And this was I was thinking about what the Black Jacobin said a few episodes ago, and he was talking about he was in Cuba, and there's no ads in Cuba. So like when you're watching TV, when you're doing whatever, there aren't ads, and so like it's just this mental load that is not on your mind of just just by not being constantly bombarded by ads. And you kind of get to realize, I was speaking with some folks at this event as well, is like you start to get like put into this mindset of like you can just relax because like you don't realize the amount of like mental like fortification you put in place against ads that you're just constantly bombarded with. And it's just you're a lot more peaceful. It's a lot more like mentally healthy to just like not have to deal with ads everywhere you go. And that sounds silly, but it's true. Well, at this event, it was kind of a similar thing, but just like I had left this iPad everywhere I went. I would just leave it on a table in this big like convention room. And I was completely comfortable just leaving my phone out on the table, my iPad out on the table. Everyone was just polite. Everyone held open doors. It's just like it was a perfect little microcosm of like what it could be like in a communist society.
My parents grew up in a communist society, and they were telling me, he's like, you can go on some random fucking bench at 2 o'clock in the morning, lay down, fall asleep, not a single person would touch you.
It's just right? The amount
like,
of like just mental load that you wouldn't have to deal with. Like it's just you just live in such a more stress-free environment.
They said they heard of 2 shootings in like a 30-year time they were there.
Yeah, at no point was I ever afraid to just like leave my door unlocked, as it were. It was just it made me sad that we don't have communism. I was like, man, this would be so much better for like everybody. It would be so much better for like just mental health, for just, I don't know, just society in general.
Oh, just growing up, like having my parents talk constantly about that. Like I was just like, God, like why? Yeah. Why did you come here? Yeah. Although it's not better right now over there because those are just like microcosms of dystopian capitalist societies. But
yeah, and obviously this isn't true of every country, every communist country all throughout history, but it's just like there is a certain freedom that you get under communism that you don't get elsewhere. And I just wanted to highlight that. How was your week? Work on work.
Yeah. It was, sorry guys. Oh my god. Yeah. So basically just a shit ton of work. Like I said yesterday, pulled off a 16-hour shift out of my ass.
You're making me on.
Yeah, sorry. We need coffee.
Yeah.
Bring the Adderall.
Should have made some coffee before we came down here. Yeah, I feel bad because while your work week is just ramping up and you're doing more and more work, my work has completely stopped. June 7th was the last day of school. I am now on summer vacation. I do not go back to work until August 1st. I'm on 2 months paid vacation.
That's so fucking nice.
I got back from Chicago. I'm going to Las Vegas next week. I'm going to Arizona the week after that, or 2 weeks after that. I'm just traveling. I am in grad school, and that's a real bummer. A lot of work to do, but I have the free time now to get it done. So it's all in all, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, with how much like workload I have right now with everything, it's like every single hour has to be used for something. I'm working at maximum efficiency right now, and I mean I was raised by 2 workaholics, so don't get me wrong. This is fairly normal for me, but at the end of the day, it's like. When I have 2 hours for myself to relax, I don't know how to relax. I put on a movie or I put on something and I'm like, it feels wrong. I need to get up and start editing. I need to clean. I need to do something.
Oh no. Yeah. That's hard. That's hard to just kind of let yourself go and let yourself just do nothing. I think we're just beat into our brains like our entire lives that if you're doing like nothing,
the devil's work
you're
or whatever.
You're lazy or you should be doing something. I saw a really interesting post recently, which is like the concept of just lazy in general. Like just the concept of being lazy is such a weird like gaslighting thing because it's like you wouldn't call like a cat who's just napping lazy, right? It's just like just enjoying their time. And like if you have a day off, like you can just nap and just lounge around and like you should do that. That's fine. That's good for you.
Yeah, I feel like in a prehistoric context, it's like if the moment you had everything in set, you got your food for the week, you got all your water, your repairs, whatever you need to do for your camp. Fucking relax. Why would you not relax? Why would you do more? Like this is like it makes sense if you live in a profit-driven society to like maximize output, but like if you don't live in a maximum-driven society,
you're not the CEO, you're not the factory owner.
Who the fuck cares? And that's why like socialism has that type of ideal where it's just like when you finish your work, you go home. You leave work at work, and when you go home, don't think about proficiency. Like
that's a distinctly modern thing. Like even like what was the classic statistic is that a peasant during the French Revolution had like double the amount of free time and vacation days that a modern American worker does. Like a peasant in France during the French Revolution under that like crushing like what you would imagine what you were taught in school was like the absolute worst time to like be a worker. That peasant had more free time than you, an American worker, and like that goes back ditto for any point in human history, basically. Where if you were
except the late 1800s,
I don't know specifically, but I would even argue that I think, well, that's fair because they were working 7 days a week. Like
it was just like the ramping up of like heavy industrialization.
Yeah, that peak industrialization.
Yeah, and then people like children working like 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and on Sundays they had to go to church and like do all this shit too. So I don't know.
But to your point, like like hunter gatherer societies like during that era, like 10 to 15,000 years ago, whatever, like that was like they had a lot of free time. They would do what they got to do, and then after they did it, they were free.
But the thing is like how they developed social bonds and also how they developed things like art, song, oral stories, how they were told, like that all has to do with free time. And that free time is really being productive, actually, because you're being productive on your social you're with your social skills, you're being productive with other things. Anyways, let's get to the show.
Let's get to the story. We have a lot of like mini stories. There's a lot of interesting stuff happened in the last like week or so. Do you want to start with the big one, or do you want to ramp up to the big one?
Let's ramp up. Let's ramp up.
All right, I had a couple random ones. Apple announces iOS 18, which is going to have integrated OpenAI, which is the company that owns ChatGPT. So your iOS 18, I think whether you want it to or not, is going to be like fueled by OpenAI and like that AI software, to which Elon Musk threatened to sue and ban all iPhones at any of his places of business because he doesn't want OpenAI in. He said it was a security risk. My guess is because it's a competitor, because he has his own AI platform and he wouldn't want a competing AI platform in his You know what I mean?
Yeah, but see, I'm not really too tech savvy, even though like I literally make videos basically on my part time. I'm not really too tech savvy. What is this going to entail by having an open AI system? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know specifically what it's going to mean for the iPhone, but have you noticed like recently when you Google something, there's a Google
Generated
like
AI generated
AI generated thing. Like it'll basically be that, but for your phone. So like I don't know how Apple intends to implement it like specifically. From what I've heard is you can ask Siri to do anything on your phone. So like right now Siri's pretty limited, but you can like ask Siri to like, hey Siri, play like whatever this song on Spotify is. And because it's like connected with that AI, it can go in, open your Spotify app, find that song, and then play that song. So now like Siri will be able to voice command everything, not just like very simple commands like reply to a text or set an alarm. She'll be able to like do complex maneuvers like going in and opening and closing and manipulating apps within your phone, because that'll be like managed by AI. That's one thing I've heard. And I don't know the specifics of other ways they plan to integrate it.
Speaking of Siri,
fucking Siri. That's funny. But anyway, Elon Musk threw a fit because he cried security concerns about having AI on your phone, which I also agree with. I don't think he's wrong there. I don't think that's why he said it, but I don't think he's wrong.
Just gonna go back upstairs.
If that is what he meant. I think he's complaining because he has his own AI company and he doesn't want a competing AI company. I think he's just trying to stop.
Oh no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
My thing is like with AI in general is like, what does this really entail at the end of the day? It's like if
just dumbing down our shit. AI is always useless. AI fucking sucks so bad, dude. Like what was it? Grammarly has always been like predictive text AI. Like that's how Grammarly works, right? It's not like there's some guy reading your paper real quick and making edits to it. It uses AI and it uses like commonly understood misspellings and misphrasings of stuff to fix that grammar. But recently, as I understand it, Grammarly swapped over to like an open AI or to like a more generative AI instead of predictive AI like model. And Grammarly is just like unusable now because it's just bad. And like that's why math AI models are going to be unusable soon, because they use their own bad answers as fuel for their current new answers. Like do you know how like AI works, like in terms of like where it like pulls from? Like if I were to just go to ChatGPT right now and say, hey ChatGPT, write me a 5-paragraph essay on the Paleolithic societies of Mesoamerica.
I figured it would take things from the internet and then just generate a bunch, basically morph them into one.
It would do that. It would make a 5-paragraph essay on the Paleolithic societies of Mesoamerica, if that's what you wanted it to write about. But it would be weird and some of the facts might not be right.
Okay, I've noticed that.
So like because it's pulling from the internet, it's just pulling whatever data it can find on the internet, and some shit on the internet is like your cousin's blog. It's not true.
Or our podcast.
Yeah, but then now fair enough, or our podcast. But now that paper that I just generated is a source on the internet.
Yeah.
And so the next time somebody does that, it's going to pull from itself.
Yeah, or
it's
pulling from
negative,
Wikipedia.
it's just a negative feedback loop that's just getting spiral. And so like so for math is the big example of when a generative AI does a math problem and it gets it wrong, it uses that now as future evidence for the next time, and so on and so forth. So it's just devolving into just like nothingness. And so it'll be fairly soon now where generative AI is just always wrong about everything. And that's why if you Google something and it has the AI overview, it's nonsense. Because AI is nonsense. It's a dumb technology that just it isn't what people think it is. The only people who claim that it's worth anything are people that are getting paid to use it.
You heard it here, folks. Get rid of your AI machines.
Also, I have humanities degrees. I don't know anything about tech or AI. So like if any of that's wrong, go fuck yourself.
Take this finger and just...
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's as I understand it from what little like reading and research I've done.
I think anybody that thinks they know anything about AI don't know anything about AI. I don't know anything about AI, and I'll tell you I don't know anything about AI. I think AI doesn't know anything about AI.
AI certainly doesn't know anything about
it.
AI.
It is a new thing, and we don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, and I think people are just like relying on it so heavily. Just like, I don't know. It's just such a weird tech bro thing to do.
I think like I don't like when we were talking about earlier about laziness. I don't really like that we're using the term lazy, you know, but I think this is just for people who wanted to be lazy and not actually write the paper and just like, you know what, let it write it for us. Efficiency, you know.
As a high school teacher who reads history papers, it is very obvious when you use AI. So for any students out there listening, I know, your teachers know, Don't do it. It's just there's something called tone and voice when you're writing, and I've read your writing all year. I know your tone, I know your voice.
And then there's something robotic.
So when you just submit a final product or final paper that's written by AI, we know. Anyway.
Have you ever failed somebody for that?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Not failed, but I've told them, hey, this is AI, redo it multiple times. It's very obvious. And the students always say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Because like they know, they don't try to lie, because it's like, dude, it's so fucking obvious when a student uses AI. It's just, it could not be more obvious. Anyway, next story.
Yeah.
Cool. What do we got? Trump VP picks? You want to do that one?
Sure. Let's do some Trump VP picks. We actually have a video for you.
Yeah, there's a short video about this. Basically, to kind of tease into the video. It's not like he made a VP pick, but we're kind of down to what are possibly the final four of contenders for who's going to be VP for Trump. It's actually strange that this late in the game they still haven't announced.
I think that's on purpose. I think there's got to be something about it.
Election's only 5 months away.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think there's something about it. I think it's done on purpose that way.
You know, and I think typically, so historically, VPs have always been like a strategic thing, right? Like,
you're white, you want somebody in the black community.
If you're white, you want a Southerner, right? And then like, so the classic example is JFK was a New England dandy, so he picked like a
Johnson.
hardcore Southerner who was like popular in the South, right? That is not uncommon. That's how it works. Trump is unique for the first time in history, I think, in that like he is the brand that like there is nobody that could elevate his ticket. Like Pence did nothing for. That's
Pence was there for the Christian community.
Pence was there for like kind of the fundamentalist community, as well as kind of the more like Rust Belt kind of like moderate Trumps or Republicans. I think at this point in 2024, I don't think there's a single, especially of the final four candidates he has. Maybe Rubio on that list can provide some kind of material condition to like the DeSantis folks that hate Trump. And also Bergen, who he just provides money. He's a billionaire or millionaire.
I think there is like it sounds cliche or sounds a bit cringe, but I think they might be right in a way where the person they're picking is somebody who kind of like works off of them and is very quote unquote loyal. Basically not. He wants somebody that won't talk back to him or question his decisions.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for all four of these picks, well, except for one, are very, very young, very spry people. And like maybe that's intentional in that like if Trump is going to die soon or will die, like the new face of the party, the new like presumptive nominee for 2028, the new kind of like front runner for president or possibly the president, if Trump dies in office, is like a 40-something, spry young guy. Anyway, let's roll the video and we can kind of talk after.
Tonight, the battle to be former President Trump's running mate heating up and the field narrowing. Sources tell NBC News Trump's shortlist of VP candidates have recently received vetting materials, and 4 men have emerged as this year's possible sweepstakes top contenders. 2 sources say Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, and Florida Senator Marco Rubio are on the list. And one source says Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina is as well.
So it's pretty much confirmed it's these 4.
Donald Trump!
All 4 candidates now fierce Trump loyalists, defending him during his New York hush money trial in the courtroom and on the air.
This is the quintessential show trial. This is what you see in communist countries.
This legal proceeding is disgraceful.
But what about Trump calling our country a fascist state?
They're trying to throw him in prison for a paperwork violation, Wolf.
Vance has proven to be one of Trump's staunchest defenders, an attack dog in the media with strong base bona fides. The other senators on the short list possibly giving Trump access to voting blocks he struggled with in the past. Scott with black voters.
That's another point that they're making is like this gives him some clout in the Senate for voting blocks, so like black voters, for Hispanic voters, for whatever.
Yeah,
that's just kind of like material. So it's not going to help him electorally because frankly Trump doesn't need any help electorally. But there are strategic value in these 4 guys.
Yeah, I think for me there is a little bit of strategic value, whether with what communities they represent. But I also think that it has a little bit of value of how they speak online, the charisma that they use. Pence lacked charisma. Dude was like a dull crayon.
It was a charisma void, dude. Yeah,
exactly. exactly. And so all four of these guys have charisma, except Mr. Caterpillar eyebrows.
Yeah.
But
even then.
But Marco Rubio is clinically, online, constantly posting. He wants somebody like that needs to
JD Vance is the same way. They're both like shit posters on Twitter and stuff, which is like that's kind of.
Who do you think likes Trump? Yeah. It's literally like Reddit fucking like psychopaths.
Yeah,
they're shit posting all day.
And Rubio with Latinos. The Florida senator also ramping up his rhetoric on Twitter in a decidedly Trumpian style.
Who are we going to send back to the White House?
And then there's this guy.
Trump!
Oh my God.
Different interest in billionaire
but he is
a one-man war chest who can help fund his campaign.
He's got the cash,
which has lagged behind President Biden's in fundraising.
He's been a successful businessman. I think Trump could tout that.
But while President Biden's running mate Kamala Harris became the first black woman to ever serve as vice president, half of Trump's new narrower list of prospects are white, all of them male. And most of them have
that doesn't matter for the Republican Party.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
Would you ever do business with Donald Trump?
I don't think so.
Why?
I just think that it's important that you're judged by the company you keep.
Rubio
such awkward.
I mean, they're all just such cowards and like kowtowers because like they've all said that they don't like Trump.
And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands?
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands?
I think he's going to go for Marco Rubio.
And
he knows how to talk shit.
My hands, if they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee.
Apparently that's not true. Stormy Daniels said he has a tiny dick.
Loyalists
Politicians are also liars.
As the former president mulls his next move.
So was the fucking
yeah, God, he's such a fucking idiot.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. All four of those have strategic value electorally, or no strategic value electorally, but they all have different like strengths. Except JD Vance. Whatever JD Vance gives, Marco Rubio also gives. Because JD Vance is from Iowa. I don't know, like Ohio. So excuse me. I don't know if there's a whole lot there. I think whatever JD Vance gives you, Marco Rubio gives you and more. So
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think Marco Rubio for me would be probably like the top pick. If you're looking for somebody that's going to be shit talking and has that energy to bring up, because
and I think people like, I think young conservatives like Marco Rubio.
Yeah,
I don't think Doug Burgum. I don't think Doug Burgum has like the juice to like carry a crowd. But like that's the thing is he does have money. So like that's Trump loves money. And
hey
Trump
man,
needs money.
You want to be Secretary of State? It's like I'll get you. Like we don't have to fully invest, but Secretary of State, maybe run for president.
Fair enough. Yeah, there's something there.
There's still ways to like woo the guy to get into your cabinet. A lot of these people are going for cabinet positions, so even if they don't get VP,
I wouldn't be surprised if all four of these guys weren't offered something at some point.
Yeah,
if they're on this, if they're being sent this like vetting paperwork.
What's your thought like on who's gonna?
Who?
What's your thought on who's going to be the VP?
I think it'd be Marco Rubio. I think Marco Rubio just offers the most in terms of like culture war bullshit. Like Marco Rubio is such a fucking like he's the one who started all the anti-woke shit, or he's a big proponent of all the anti-woke shit in Florida. He's just I don't know. He's I think he appeals to Donald Trump's sense of like shit talk and like troll. But I think he does bring like for lack of a better term, a diversity hire. Like he's not a white guy. He's got I assume he's Cuban of Cuban.
Yeah,
descent.
I believe he is a Cuban descent.
Gusano. Yeah. So I think it'd be Rubio. I think that'd be his best bet. I don't know. I'm not a political like analysis when it comes to like this side of the electoral stuff. I'm not an expert.
You know who I was surprised not seeing on there though? DeSantis.
No, I think they hate each other too much.
Really? You don't think it was just fucking politics and they're just fucking throw each other aside?
No, I think Trump takes shit like that personally. I think he's petty and he holds grudges.
That's very true.
And
that is very true.
The Marco Rubio shit was in 2016. That was 8 years ago. I think he's fine to get over that. The DeSantis stuff was like 6 months ago. I don't think. And DeSantis never went away and was a lot more vocal and a lot more consistent and persistent, antagonizing Trump. So I don't think Trump would ever do anything for DeSantis.
Fair enough.
There's other people. There's like, what's her name? Kristi Noem, who's I think the South Dakota governor. She was supposedly on a short list at some point. There's other people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, remember the Pence debate when he had like that fly just all over his head?
That's so long ago.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
That's so long ago.
I was thinking about what a black hole of charisma Pence was, and Jesus, remember when his like eye? He had like an eye infection, and he looked like a ghoul, and then he
looks
got
like
a
a ghoul
fly
without
on his
the eye
head.
infection.
I don't know.
man.
That guy's just like fucked up. Anyway, next story. We got two options. We could do the Chiquita banana or the Hezbollah Israel.
Let's go with the Chiquita banana because the Hezbollah ties into Israel.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So Chiquita banana forced to pay almost $40 million in like what is essentially like wrongful death money, right? For the like this goes back hundreds of years. I was doing a little bit of research on this to kind of freshen up. Like we all know that like if you've ever heard the term banana republic, right? I mean like. Oh, yeah. We're all familiar that like these banana companies, Chiquita Banana and like their predecessor, what they used to be, funded like paramilitary right-wing death squads to go around and like put down strikes and just murder people blatantly.
They were called what? United Fruit Company?
They were called United Fruit Company. So like I mean,
dude, you've seen this in the history books when you went to school
Oh, yeah.
and you read a history. This is the
this
company.
Is the thing. This is that.
They
company.
literally just changed their name.
Yeah,
It's
they're
the
Chiquita
same company.
Banana now, and the Chiquita Banana. They're not being liable for the deaths that under United Fruit Company. They're being liable for the deaths like from 10 years ago. Like they are still subfunding the Colombian Civil War up that ended in 2016. So this lawsuit was from 2007. Excuse me, that was just settled. And Chiquita Banana lost. But for like a real brief history, in the I want to say it was the late 20s or maybe it was the late 30s. It was either 28 or 38. I can't remember exactly when. A bunch of banana workers went on strike in Central America and South America. And Chiquita Banana, or then the United Fruit Company, with the help of the government, I think it was the Colombian government, it like just basically opened fire, and they killed over 1,000 people, all these striking banana workers. And there's the U.S. State Department, or maybe the U.S. Department of State issued like memos saying like, "Good job, we got them. Now they get back to work and stuff." So like, yeah, it was like the United Fruit Company aggressively and brutally put down any type of like. These guys were working 7 hours a day, many days, or many hours a day for little to no pay.
7 days a week, you mean?
7
hours a day seems ideal.
Oh yeah, no, 7 days a week. Sorry, 7 days a week for like 18 hours a day.
Yeah,
and they wanted what their striking conditions were at that strike were 6 day weeks. 6 day weeks with 8 hour days. That's what they wanted. They wanted to work 6 days a week. That was like their concession. That was their compromise. And they were these strikes are brutally put down. And this has been a consistent theme with these companies and companies all over the world too. Like this is the first company in history to ever be held liable for human rights abuses, which is kind of bizarre because like Nestle was just caught with like slave labor, hiring underage kids. Tyson was just caught hiring underage kids, but none of them were held civilly liable for any kind of damages or money they had to pay. Chiquita was, as of I think it was a couple days ago, they had to pay $38.3 million, I want to say, to the family of a bunch of Colombians that they had killed. And
this is just in Colombia, so this is not even.
Yeah, this is Colombia. It was real bad in Guatemala.
They literally worked with the CIA to overthrow the fucking government and install a dictator that would then allow them to buy
that's the thing is they've always been real cozy with these governments because the government they throw the government cash to keep laws friendly to their companies of like no limits on hours, no limits on days.
A fruit company fucking overthrew a government to have to basically have.
Well, it was way worse than that. It was way more nefarious than that. Like this fruit company is responsible for like putting all of the railroad tracks in Central and South America. So all of northern South America, like Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, all of that. It made them their transport costs.
Yeah.
But like if you wanted to like use their transports, like it was just like owned by United Fruit Company. So like the deals they had set up with these countries, like they had complete control. Like there was a stranglehold basically. This one company, United Fruit Company, basically like owned the northern half of South America and Central America, and like if you wanted anything in those countries you had to go through this American it was actually I think it was a Guatemalan American partnership, but in the end it ended up just being an American company, as I understand it. So go read that story about Chiquita Banana's history. It's wild, and it's funny if you Google Chiquita Banana like death squads and stuff. All of the stuff is from like 10 to 15 years ago because that's when it was like this current crop of murders were perpetrated. So it's actually not a lot of like mainstream outlets are reporting on this. I had to dig to find more details about
I
this.
found this on TikTok, and that's why they want to ban TikTok.
Yeah. I saw it on Instagram first too, and then I had to go dig around. And I found a Democracy Now! Video about it, which, as far as I know, Democracy Now! Is kind of like
Social Democrat.
Yeah, they're kind of libs, but there was a piece from them about it, and then there was, I think, an
decent work,
AP article
compared to
about
like CNN and all of them.
Yeah, sure.
I'll give them that.
Anyway, that's a Chiquita banana story. Thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also sad at the same time.
Very sad. I mean, it's a lot of people have died, but I mean, there is hope. This sets a precedent that companies can now be held liable for human rights abuses. So
finally.
Yeah. I mean, it took the lawsuit was filed in 2007. It's now 2024.
Yeah. Now we just have to get states reliable for human rights
17 years later, it took to get justice. There was a comment from, I think it was the widow of one of the guys that was killed. It was in Spanish, and I forget exactly what she said, but it was just about like so go out there, look it up, educate yourselves. There you go. That'd be an interesting one to do a deeper dive on, like a longer video. I say is just a Banana Republic history of like the United Fruit Company.
Ooh.
All right, and our final story, our next story. Hezbollah fires a couple hundred rockets into Israel, just kind of further escalating this little mini side conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. On Tuesday night, an Israeli drone attack, or an Israeli airstrike killed a top Hezbollah official.
Commander, actually.
Commander, yeah. What was
basically their highest commander at this point.
Yeah, Talib Abdullah. It was and it killed 3 other Hezbollah fighters in a strike, and so that was on Tuesday night, and then so on Wednesday, Hezbollah retaliated with an airstrike, a rocket barrage, one of its largest rocket barrages, striking sites in northern Israel, where it fired over more than 200 projectiles. No casualties reported from Israel, although it did start quite a bit of fires and cause some folks to have to like kind of evacuate the area. There is some footage of just the fires burning from the rockets, but like I said,
special.
No casualties. Yeah, nothing crazy. But this kind of does lead to kind of like a broader question of like, there's a bunch of like other conflicts happening at the same time as the Gazan genocide. There's also like Hezbollah, Israel, the Houthis. Houthis just sank another ship. A huge cargo tanker, I think, that sank for
fucking
like many
badass,
hours.
bro.
Yeah, it was like one boat drone, I think, and one other rocket they fired sunk a tanker. So that's my point, is that there's all these kind of like other factions, for lack of a better term, kind of getting in the mix that are kind of chipping away at Israel, and I just wonder like, where is this going to lead, right? Is there going to be a larger...
Well,
I don't know.
Hezbollah has said that they don't want war, but these attacks are essentially just showing that like if war begins, they're fucking ready.
Yeah.
They're ready for like all out war.
I like that they keep like clapping back every time they're hit, is like, hey,
they're not scared to clap
we're
back.
not scared to like retaliate. Like you can't... Also, like, why is Israel just like randomly just murdering Hezbollah? And these strikes were conducted in Lebanon.
Yeah.
So
Again,
like,
I bring this back because like imagine like one of America's enemies fucking just randomly drone strikes our general.
Cuba's just doing drone strikes in Florida, right? Like Cuba's just dropping bombs, killing random folks in Florida, and we're just like, oh, Cuba. Like, what would our response be? Like
all out war. Like we are invading the
right?
next day.
Like, what the fuck? Why is this random country just bombing folks in a different country? And like, that's a little simplistic because like they're like enemies, but they're not like at war with each other. They're not really enemies. I think it is pretty comparable to Cuba and America. It's just like if Cuba just randomly started killing American citizens in Florida, like
Hezbollah and Israel have had a lot of skirmishes over the years, so
Sure.
this isn't the first one. But like they didn't attack first. They responded because they had their general fucking
in January
drone
their
strike,
general was
basically.
killed. Their general was killed, and then again just now or this week, another top.
So it's like, oh my God, Hezbollah, the terror group Hezbollah sends 215 rockets, which literally was all strategically placed, not hitting civilian targets. And then all of a sudden they're looked at as like the bad group. But like, why are they? Have you had that reasoning? The context of why they are shooting missiles is like they just had their main general assassinated. Yeah. What would America do? They would literally light the place on fire.
Yeah, we would burn Cuba to the ground.
Yeah, Cuba would literally be gone. Also, I don't know, like this is random, but like, have you seen those Russian warships apparently? And like,
that are docking in Cuba?
Yeah.
Cuba is allowing Russia ships to just like hang out. I don't know to what end. I don't really know.
I don't know either, but that's kind of fucking scary. He's like, all right, hold up.
Whoa. I don't know if anybody told Cuba, but the Soviet Union fell. These are no longer the good guys.
You need the capitalist country yet again.
Yeah. I don't know. But I'll have to keep an eye on that and maybe report back next week of kind of what's going on there. Because, I saw that Cuba was letting a lot of Russian ships dock.
I just didn't know what to believe. I saw it on Twitter, and you know things on Twitter. Like, it could be completely false. It could be completely true. You have to do way more thorough investigation. But I'm like...
No, I saw that on a couple different sources. I at this point, I'm pretty convinced that it's true, but I don't know why. So, we'll have to kind of check back. Yeah, sorry. All right, last story.
Yeah. All right. For this last one, we're going to be talking about the most recent massacre. Mm-hmm. I believe it's called Nusret.
Yeah, Nusret is what.
Nusret.
That's what the British Al Jazeera reporter called it. So I'm comfortable just saying
Nusret.
Nusret.
Okay. Again, apologies if I can't pronounce that.
Yeah. This happened on Saturday. It would have been Saturday for us in America. It was 11 a.m. There, it was in the Nusret region, which is kind of central Gaza. It's a refugee camp, is what this area is. There's a UN designated like refugee locations there. There's a school that they were using for displaced folks to kind of go and take UN supply as refugees. That's what this area is. And so about 11 a.m., a kind of convoy of vehicles roll up. One is an aid truck carrying mattresses and blankets, so that everyone thought was for the Gazans, the displaced Gazans at this refugee camp. It was just it was a truck carrying a bunch of mattresses and blankets. There was also a truck with commercial markings, and then a few more civilian cars, and they all roll in. And ahead of this convoy, heavy bombardment opens up in this refugee area, in this kind of in a market area, like a market square, where people are like, trading and buying goods and stuff. And then reports are kind of varied, but apparently soldiers then spilled out of all of these civilian cars and the aid trucks and kind of went up and down the streets, indiscriminately killing people. Is basically like multiple reports have it that they were essentially just executing people in the streets, indiscriminately shooting anyone nearby. They shot their way to two different locations, two different buildings where hostages were being held. These were some of the Israeli hostages that were taken on October 7th. And what this was an Israeli incursion operation to retrieve some of these hostages. All told, 274 at last count Palestinians were killed, many of them children. The numbers are flaky, but it's at least 64 children were killed. 274 total Palestinians killed, another 700 Palestinians injured, including the dead are three hostages. 3 Israeli hostages were killed by Israelis during this raid. One of those Israeli hostages was American. It was one of the ones that had the American citizenship. So in this Israeli raid that resulted in the rescue of 4 hostages, 274 people were killed, many of them children, 700 injured, and of the dead, including 3 other hostages. All 4 hostages. And there's a lot of stories that have come out about this, like one using humanitarian aid trucks to kind of go in undercover. Another one bombing a refugee camp, in particular bombing a market area within a refugee camp. 2, indiscriminately shooting anyone you see. These are war crimes on top of war crimes on top of war crimes. Nobody really cares about that anymore, if they ever did. But all the news stories, if you look up anything about the Nusret massacre, all it'll say is the successful rescue operation. We got four of our guys home. Good job. We got 4 hostages back.
I can't imagine just getting rescued by Israel, going home and thinking, to get me, 64 children had to be slaughtered. Yeah. And 3 other people died, from the other hostages.
They killed their own hostages, or they killed their own people.
I personally would have been like, should have just
worth
fucking left me.
And
I'd
then
rather
actually-
be left with Hamas.
Well, and that
not have
actually goes to that point of like how well those hostages were kept. Like there's before and after photos, and like the one girl, they baked her a birthday cake. Like she was like, yeah, they made me a birthday cake for my birthday. Like they were treated exceptionally well. All of 4 of the hostages were fine. They were kept in good health. They were given health care. They were given food. They apparently, by all accounts, were perfectly pleasant. During that bombardment, the UN set up school that I kind of mentioned, that one was hit. 32 people were killed inside of that school. Military vehicles followed the convoy of civilian. So like after that kind of initial bombardment where the civilian vehicles rolled up, military like tanks and military kind of like APCs rolled up for backup and support. A helicopter landed. This is all near that U.S. built pier that was built.
Yeah, that fucking
so a
collapsed.
Helicopter. Well, they rebuilt it, which
Yeah.
cost like another how many millions of dollars. But a helicopter was landed there. The hostages were placed on the helicopter, and they were able to get out. A lot of people have insinuated or implied that this was a joint operation between Israel and America. There's no evidence to support that directly as of yet, but there's a lot of kind of like circumstantial evidence that America had kind of a hand to play in this.
America has a hand to play with the entire fucking
obviously, like,
war,
yeah,
the whole
their
entire genocide.
munitions and everything. But
why would
they're
I even
saying,
think
like,
twice about if
Yeah.
America was part of it? Absolutely, they were.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't part of it directly, they were part of it indirectly. They supplied the helicopters, they supplied the fucking guns, they whatever. America is directly tied into this, and even if they didn't do it, they fucking did it to me. I don't give a fuck.
So there's a lot of angles to talk about here. One is using aid trucks. This once again makes it's a win-win for Israel and for America because it makes Palestinians wary of approaching aid trucks now that they've been like essentially like like they're a decoy. But it also makes aid workers even more hesitant to actually help. And so it's a win-win for Israel as people, so there's that. There's also the nature of the prisoner treatment. There was a story that broke last week as well about Palestinian prisoners in the Israeli detention centers and how they've been raped, tortured, murdered, beaten. There are now verified stories of Palestinian prisoners that have had hot rods. They'll heat rods up and then stick them up their butts, like they will force sodomy of people. So
that's not even sodomy at that point. That's like soldering. They're
so
literally
it's
welding these people's assholes together.
I highlighted
What
the
the
treatment
fuck?
of the Israeli hostages, that they baked them a birthday cake, because that's what's happening with the Israeli hostages, and with these Palestinian prisoners, that's the treatment they're
I
receiving.
did not know that.
Yeah, that's now verified by multiple news outlets that they're just completely torturing Palestinian prisoners, which is not surprising at all. But this is the type of people that the Israeli government and the IDF are. They are like genocidal monsters. They are torturers. They're murderers. So I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say more about this. Every week we just highlight more and more massacres and more war crimes that
honestly, this kind of shit makes me lose faith in humanity.
Yeah, it just makes me lose faith in the Western world, if anything. This is America.
What's the Eastern world doing? What's the rest of the world doing? Nobody's doing anything.
Watching. Hezbollah's firing rockets, I guess. Houthis sinking some ships. The Middle Eastern world, they're doing it, I guess.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's how can you hate these people? They're terror groups? I don't know.
That's the thing. Is if there's still anybody that's supportive of Israel or supportive of this conflict or this war, you're dead to me. There's really no excuse anymore. There was never any excuse, but it's just with each passing day, how
do you look at this and be like, yeah, I still support Israel? I'm like, you're a fucking monster.
You're an absolute monster, dude.
I don't know how the fuck you sleep at night.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
We got anything else for him?
No, that was it. There's more things to talk about this. There's more kind of angles to this to discuss, but I don't know. I don't really have it in me anymore. I'm kind of just bummed, and I'm
it's just another one massacre after another. And we were here weekly just posting about massacres after massacres. And it's too much, man. It's too much. And at this point, I was talking, I said this was maybe 5 or 6 episodes ago. I'm just dude, somebody just needs to fucking invade.
Yeah.
Somebody just needs to something needs to be done. I before I was like, God, man, we can't risk World War III over this shit. Now I'm start the war.
No, we can. Yeah.
Start the war. Yeah. I don't care anymore, man. If we can't justify like starting a global conflict over this. There's nothing we can justify starting a global conflict over.
Yeah.
There is no, what the fuck's the point of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
UN?
this was the whole point. This was supposedly why we went to World War II, right? Was to
exactly.
this exact thing. And if we can't do it, I mean, the difference is these people aren't white, so like maybe that's not enough for us to actually do it. But like, I don't know. That's, to me, it seems like that's the difference, or that's, that's the situation.
Well, it's, how do I put this? The people that are fighting back are enemies of America, right? Hezbollah, Iran, Yemeni Houthi rebels. These people are considered the enemies of America. It's like in the World War II era, if Hitler was killing Jews and then, I don't know, fucking Polish communists were trying to help out the Jews, they would be considered terrorists too.
Yeah.
So how people are going to view this in 40, 50 years, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to be taught in schools. Yeah, damn well I'm going to teach my children that Israel's a fucking terrorist state.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I don't know. How does and this is my main final point. How is Israel going to survive? Even if when all this ends, how is Israel going to have like any sort of like normal interaction with a global community after this?
Yeah,
there's no way.
I mean,
there's no way. This changes everything.
I think that's true for us, but I don't think it's true for like anybody. I mean, like, or hardly anybody else. Like you think Biden's not going to shake the next prime minister of Israel's hand?
Biden's going to suck the next prime minister's dick.
Yeah,
that's
like,
not the problem.
It really changes
I'm talking about just like the global, like the worldview of regular people.
Yeah.
If an Israeli came up to me and was just like, "Hey, I'm from Israel," I'm like, "No, you don't. You're from Palestine. Go fuck yourself. I don't give a fuck.
You're a colonial. You're a settler.
I spit on you.
Yeah.
I literally spit on you. I can't. Even like I stopped listening to people because they're pro-Israeli. I never listened to Lady Gaga, but there's a whole thing out on how Lady Gaga is super pro-Israel. Like,
is she?
If I ever,
That's a bummer.
Yeah, she did go.
I don't know. I'm not like I don't have any fucking personal stake in Lady Gaga. It's just a bummer to hear people being pro-Israel. Period.
Exactly.
I guess.
But like I'm sitting here. I'm like, if I ever hear somebody playing Lady Gaga, I'm like, turn it off. From leaving the fucking room.
No more.
I don't want to hear
Gaga
it anymore.
Allowed. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start cracking down on like just. I'm gonna have a zero tolerance policy for just like people like saying shit. Like if I hear something like that out, if I'm in line at fucking I don't know, Burger King or whatever. Like somebody starts saying some shit, I'm gonna butt in and be like, yeah, I want to start fucking hitting some folks in the back of the head. Like
so kneecaps are about to be broken
with logic and wisdom, not with pipes.
We're going to disable them with our logic.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna suffer fools anymore about this shit. It's just
too much, man. It's just monsters. I'm like, I can't. It's kind of hard to go on with this. Yeah. We might have to take a break from the Palestine conflict for like a week or two.
Yeah, like a week or two. Hopefully nothing major happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully
if something major does happen, we will report on it.
I started following this Instagram account. I forget the name of it. I should give this guy credit. It's like two young boys, and they it's just like updates of living in occupied Gaza, and they're like so happy and just like so I don't know, they're just like unfazed, like they're just living their best life and they're still like just being children and like having a good time with it. And it's just like it's really uplifting to see, but there's a part of it that's like it's like this undertone of real sadness because like it shows them like walking through the rubble to like find this like guy who's selling like cup of noodles or whatever. It's just like I'll put the link to them in the description. It's just like it's just a daily upload. They make a daily Instagram reel of like life in occupied Gaza.
I mean, I can directly relate to that because that's like my entire fucking country's under siege for 3 years. Yeah. And it was literally the same thing. Like the city's completely surrounded, just like Gaza, basically. Excuse me. And everything is fucking bombed to shreds. Buildings are just fucking destroyed. Roads have more potholes than road. People are like literally dying. Market massacres where there's mortar strikes that kill like 70 people at once.
Yeah.
So I directly relate to that. And you still see people in like the footage in the 90s fucking having full on concerts with like large generators having full on like metal concerts underground while there's an entire fucking genocide happening outside. You live on, people adapt and they survive, and you got to work with what you have.
Yeah, and I will say it is cool that like these kids are just so like I can't find it. I'll have to do a little searching.
I know Israelis are looking at those kids' fucking Instagrams. They're like, fuck, send more bombs.
And like
kill them.
A part of me I was thinking like the other day is like I'm like really sad to like I'm just waiting for the day when like there's an update from the account where like they were killed in a strike.
Yeah.
Because like that's what happened. There was that one. Remember that one boy who had the YouTube channel, and he was like so stoked that he hit 100 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers. He was a young kid. He was like sub 10 or around 10 or something. And like there was this really cool story about him. And he was a Gazan boy that had a YouTube channel. And that's all he wanted to be was a YouTuber. And then I think he hit like 1,000 subscribers or something. And I think he just did like, unboxing videos or like Minecraft videos, whatever the kids do on YouTube. And then it was announced that he was killed in a strike.
It's sad.
Yeah, it's very sad. I'm getting very sad talking about this.
All right.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
On other news, we would like to announce that we have joined a little group. It's called the Anti-Capitalist Podcast Network.
Right.
ACPN?
Sure. ACPN.
Yeah, ACPN. Right. Like my mind is just not working today, man. I'm delusional.
They just sent us a message right now.
Yeah. So from ACPN, it's basically a bunch of anti-capitalist podcasts coming together as a network, and we're just trying to communicate and send our message out to the world. Yeah,
we're excited to be kind of a part of a larger coalition network of other anti-capitalist podcasts. It was flattering to be invited to join a podcast network, so that was very cool. Thank you to them. And so from here on out, there's going to be more collaboration with the groups that are on that list. I assume we can say it, right? The other, I mean, there's no secret about it now, right?
No, you can go to their. We'll have a link below.
We'll have a link,
and you can go directly to their Instagrams and.
805 Uncensored is one of the podcasts. There's a handful of really cool podcasts that are on that list. So
Green and Red podcast.
Yeah, Green and Red.
They're on YouTube, so if you're on YouTube, just go to the YouTube bar and search them up.
So give them a look in, and as always, feel free to like and subscribe this video if you're watching it on YouTube, and subscribe on the podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
Follow us on our social medias.
Absolutely.
Revolutionary Rhetoric, Twitter. Our TikTok's starting to take off again, so thanks to anybody on TikTok.
Woo! 2 months of shadow banning, bro. Holy shit.
What we assume was like some kind of ban on TikTok for the last couple months, getting no traction, then all of a sudden our videos are taking off again. So thank you to whoever is forcing through that firewall. Revolutionary Rhetoric on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon. We have a Patreon.
That's right. We do have a Patreon.
We have a Patreon with a numerous tier values down there. You can go over to patreon.com/revolutionary rhetoric. Check us out there if you are more interested in the tiers. But do be advised that for every tier, a large portion of that money does go to Palestinian relief efforts. So we are happy to donate any money you give us to improve us so we can keep doing this. A lot of that money we're going to take and then give to Palestine. Refugee and relief efforts. So,
and then also don't forget to give us 5 stars on any type of
your podcast
audio podcast platform you're on. It really helps us because once you give those ratings, it pushes our
that boosts the algorithm.
Exactly.
Lets us get our content out to more folks and spread that the message of communism. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, that was kind of a downer way to end, but I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did that at the end, not the beginning, because then the rest of the whole episode would have been a real downer.
It's just been a downer day, I think.
Yeah, it's just been a shitty week. Free Palestine. If you can give anything, if you can't do anything for those folks, do it. Otherwise, Revolutionary Rhetoric out.
Smrt fascismu.